Absolutely, Lorraine. So look, just a bit of an intro on RedGrid. RedGrid is a technology company that aims to change the way in which households use energy at home by empowering them to use more renewable energy more often. Now we know that renewable energy is a priority for Australians. Australia is the leading country in the world in the per capita rollout of energy being generated by solar and wind. We've got already 2.8 million households with rooftop solar. So the problem that we have here isn't one of, hey, how do we get more people involved, or how do we get to generate more renewable energy? We actually have a lot of renewable energy ready to be used. The actual problem that we're facing here is that we've got clean, carbon-free energy being generated on the roof of those 2.8 million people that is being wasted. Why? Well, let's think about it for a second, right? So after a house has used the energy that it needs, the excess unused energy, should go somewhere. Ideally, goes into a battery so that can be stored and then used later. The problem is that the uptake of batteries has not been as successful as the one for solar panels. In fact, in Australia, for every 100 houses with solar panels, only 4 have batteries. So for the 96% of homes without a battery, their excess energy needs to be exported back into the grid. But our grid can't cope with the increasing amount of small-scale household-generated renewable energy. But Lorraine, if you think about maybe 5-10 years ago, this wasn't the case, right? If you generated excess solar and you didn't have a battery, you could feed it back into the grid and also get paid for it. But because there weren't many people exporting their energy into the grid, and therefore really this problem was not there. The problem that we have right now is we've got this new wave of people coming in and purchasing solar panels, and therefore we basically have this too many people being exporting back into the grid, and this is creating and forming energy traffic jams on our grids. But if you think about it, the reason why this is happening is because
it's like a collision, isn't it, of the new and the old together?
That's exactly right, because the grid was never designed to work that way, right? The grid was designed to bring energy along the distribution line to the home, never design it to receive it from it. Now, this isn't the problem with large scale wind and solar farms, because these types of renewables are centralized in nature. So it's actually quite easy to integrate them into the grid and coordinate their usage. They are produced en masse, they are sent out en masse, and importantly, they move one way, from the source to the customer. And you could say that their production is somewhat predictable. But with small-scale solar system, you've got people like me, like you, that we're both producing and using energy as people do, unpredictably, right? We all turn on the dishwasher when we need to, and we switch on the air conditioner when we feel like it. And so ultimately, the grid has no way of knowing how much energy it needs to integrate from each individual household with solar. Wow. And the truth is that the grid, was never built to work that way. It's more than a century old, so it was never built to be so flexible or dynamic.
So what you have really is you've got a new class of people or consumers, the prosumer, because they're producing and they're consuming, right?
That's exactly right.
So this new term, the prosumer. So tell me, what is the solution that RedGrid have then to solve this challenge?
Sure. Look, there is a solution. There is a proposed solution that looks a little bit like this, right? You take the entire electricity system, everything from poles, wires, distribution lines, and you upgrade the whole thing. The problem is that you've got 2 main problems with that. The first one is the cost. The upgrade cost of the entire grids across the world would cost about $14 trillion with a T. And the second problem, and that's the most important one, is that it would take more than a decade. And we know, and that's why we're here today, we don't have that much time. And so at RedGrid, we think we found a better, smarter, and Lorraine, I assure you, cheaper solution. So look, our technology right now is doing 2 things. The first thing that we do is that we let people know through a mobile app how much of the energy that is coming into the house comes from renewable energy. And as you can see in the photo, we also show the times of the day when there was a surplus of renewable in the grid. Now, this means that everyone can be empowered with knowing exactly when it is the best time to use appliances. And actually, as a consumer, having that much visibility into the grid is something completely new, because it empowers them to then make the right choices for them and ultimately the planet. And then of course, as people start to consume greener, more renewable energy, we then reward them for shifting their habits with RedGrid points. I want to add here that the actual software that runs our digital platform works at the device, at the appliance level. Now, this means that every appliance, whether it's smart or not, can be part of the RedGrid ecosystem. So the smart appliances, we connect through them to the Wi-Fi signal APIs, but of course, not everybody can have the latest Bosch dishwasher enabled. And so, for those older devices that aren't smart, what we do is that we provide a very easy to use smart plug that enables those devices to then be able to see within the grid. And as I mentioned earlier, of course, we are a technology company at heart. So we don't make any of the hardware. What we do make is the magic that sits behind them and enable those devices to be active grid participants. The amazing thing about this.
So there's all this magic happening behind the scenes that people don't have to know about, where you're looking at prices of energy at various times, you're looking at renewables, and you're bringing all that together and helping them make decisions then. So giving the power in an easy way to household users. Is that it?
Yes, that's exactly it. And we've got an entire thing underneath the app that people don't see, but that's really the powerful thing. And again, the amazing thing about having this bottom up, this grassroots system that begins at the device level is that once we have enough devices and homes connected, what we then can do is that we can create virtual mini grids that exist in communities. So instead of having to share, your excess solar with the outdated grid that probably is going to be wasted, don't do that. We'll have homes that can talk to each other about energy usage, and ultimately they can share energy. So houses that produce excess solar can now share it with their neighborhoods. And this is how we solve the problem of integrating energy coming from the rooftop of so many Australians, by enabling that energy to be used locally. And this is the second thing that RedGrid is doing right now. We are forming carbon-free communities that can produce and consume renewable energy locally.
Well, that is very exciting to me, because it's all around smart cities and making sure that we have sustainable supply and looking at the local communities, and also resilience within those communities. As we know, when the energy goes down and those communities don't have access to energies, and the impact and so on, from the grid. So tell me, what are you doing in this regard in terms of smart communities?
Sure. So look, we've taken many steps in this direction. For example, for the past year, we've been working with Monash University at the United Nations awarded mini grid campus in Clayton. And look, they've got a smart city there. They've got about, I think, 4,000 solar panels. They've got lithium batteries, electric vehicles. Before COVID, there were 60,000 students and professors living on campus. So really much a smart city. And what we did there was exactly what I've been talking to you about today. We deployed the software, and we ensured that all the devices that were connected to our system were coordinating usage across 200 buildings to transfer, share, and prioritize the use of solar energy that was being generated then and there. But it's also important to note that the devices were also able to see what was happening on the grid. And so if the grid needed some energy to be soaked up, we then would create smart contract that would go into the devices, and devices would then, act accordingly to what the grid needed. So if it needed some energy to be soaked up, we would just switch on some devices, and vice versa. If we needed to decrease energy demand, we just turn off some devices. And this is really important, because this is ultimately what we want to replicate in every neighborhood in Australia, and to be honest, the world. We want to have neighborhood mini grids that generate, coordinate, that share small scale solar energy locally. And just to finish things on a positive note, RedGrid was just awarded a week ago a government grant to simulate and do exactly what we've been doing at Monash, but now in the context of a community with a neighborhood battery. And this is really exciting.
That is very exciting. Congratulations to everyone involved in that collaboration. This really, this is the start of it. Yeah.
That is absolutely right. This is the start of it, and you know, we are going to be working with, you know, United Energy, Monash University, Manningham Council, and Mirvac Properties to simulate, you know, how using the community battery and how having a communal battery at the suburb level can actually empower different homes and can redistribute locally generated renewable energy in the homes that are part of the area. So it doesn't matter whether you have solar or not, you can still be part of this ecosystem, of this movement.
Yeah, that is brilliant. So listen, tell me, what can we all do today? So what advice can you give us in terms of, because you've done a lot of research around consumers and prosumers and how to ensure affordable energy and efficient use of energy. What to this end, is there anything we could do?
Absolutely, you know, that's why we're here. There is definitely action to be taken, and what you can do is I'm sure you're all familiar with the thing on the screen, the QR code, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, they've been very handy indeed.
They have been very, very handy. And look, what people can do right now is that they can scan the QR code and you'll be redirected towards a page that enables us to then create a waiting list to know exactly who the people are that are interested in being part of this ecosystem. So people will be able to download the mobile application that right now is just with Mirvac Properties. We've been working with them for a year. We did trials there for about 9 months. But we decided, hey, we need to make this accessible. Again, this is a collective thing that we need to create. And so as a team, we decided we need to make this accessible to everyone. And so we decided to make the app, you know, accessible by the end of October. So if you can scan that, we're going to have your details, and then you can be the first ones to have access to this, you know, world first visibility into the grid, having devices into your home, working, you know, together to just consume
Brilliant.
energy.
So Marco, question, how much does it cost, this app? Free?
Zero.
Okay, brilliant.
I mean, it should, yes, it should be free, right? Because there shouldn't be any barriers.
All right, so this is what you're doing, is giving people the tools to understand their own energy use and make decisions on energy for free. Okay, well, okay, I'm signing up. I'm sure others will as well. So it's not available yet, but RedGrid will have your details and they will get on to you about this. And, you know, the big thing here is, yes, it starts at the household, but then it's sharing between households, you know, peer-to-peer, and then communities. So this is the future of energy. It's decentralized, it's resilient, it's affordable. Marco, there's lots of questions, but we need to hold off. We'll keep a few of them for later, and people can chat with you one-on-one.